not lost your mind. You've not lost your mind if you're still grieving something that happened a long time ago. Okay, common challenges for older adults in grief. Now that the loss has happened, what's my role? Who is my support system? Multiple losses in a short period of time is common for as we get older, right? It's more, there's more complexity in loss. We start to determine in our minds, was this a good loss or a bad loss? More complexity in loss because sometimes you're losing peers or friends or people your age. Or losing individuals that are younger than you. And you've lived life for so many years. I've always lived life this certain way, and now the life I've lived has changed all of a sudden. Normal common challenges for older adults in grief is cognitive decline, not able to focus and think through and process like you were able to before. Man, my mind just hasn't been right since that happened. And definitely emotional avoidance. Say, I don't even want to touch it. Okay? Ooh, we buzzed through the kids' stuff. I was hoping I wouldn't run out of time. Okay, so how can I help others? So this is the companion model. How can you help others? You listen, and this is the hard part, and embrace silence. You allow them to talk through a moment, and it's okay. You don't have to have the answer right away. You don't have to have the answer right away. So part of my grief counseling training and part of what they taught, it sounds so mean, but they ask you to actually wait to give somebody Kleenex. So I put it on the tables today. I broke the rules. They say, wait to offer it. And you're like, that sounds really harsh. You know, what if they got snot coming down? I mean, I'm sure there's other, what if it's just like a mess, right? But they say, wait. Give it a moment. Because as soon as you hand them the box of Kleenexes, they feel the need to have to finish. Like, I have to be done being emotional, to be done grieving. I have to be done with this, right? If we're helping somebody, we can listen to the story no matter how many times we've heard the story. It might be a disenfranchised loss that they're facing, and you're listening to the story and be like, why are you grieving this? Listen to the story. Listen to what they have to say about it. And embrace the moment of silence that follows. Embrace the moment when you're not required to fix everything they just said. You're not required to bring understanding to everything that they said. You're not God. You're not going to understand everything that they said. You're not going to have to change an entire worldview. Likely they're not even expecting that from you. So you embrace the silence that's to follow, because what follows a big emotional moment is the brain does something, and it starts to work through it in a new way. And all of those neurotransmitters and all those pathways that have been made that have caused all those emotions, when the emotion settles, that deep breath, it allows your brain the moment to form new pathways, a new cognitive way. It's a growth moment that happens. In that silence, growth happens, and you don't have to say anything or do anything. It's a God-given thing that He's given us the ability to do. I have had this moment of high emotion, and I can't think cognitive. And then the silence, and what happens? The mind starts to form new pathways. Now, sometimes if you're counseling or working through with somebody, after that moment of silence happened, you can help them form the facts, the new ways of thinking. A lot of times people need that. But you don't have to have all the answers. You can help them through as they're asking a question, but you don't have to have all the answers. Embrace the silence, because that's when that real renewing's working. Especially in a God moment, or if you've allowed, that moment to just say, if you've allowed even just a God moment to take place, to where say, God, please renew my mind in this, and that God moment, that silence is so important. When you're helping others, listen and embrace silence. When you're helping others, act as a student, not a teacher. I want to learn more about what you're saying. You can really say that. I want to learn more. Tell me more about them. Tell me more about how you're feeling. Act as a student, not a teacher. Man, it takes the pressure off you, doesn't it? But also on the other side, it helps them to be able to trust you more. To say, oh, they're not, sometimes it's hard to talk to somebody if they always have all the answers. And you're like, no, I don't need you to have all the answers. Sometimes it's hard to have those conversations if you feel like you're always saying the wrong thing and you always have to fix it. Oh, they know more. They always know more than I do. And so I can't be completely vulnerable. In these moments, you are the student. You're the one that's learning. Because you're not facing exactly what they face. Maybe similar, but you've never faced exactly what they're experiencing. You're the student. You're the learner. This is why they have all these models of grief, because nobody's ever figured this out, right? And they're never going to figure it all out. And so it's a case by case. It's a moment by moment. Teaching and teaching ourselves to be really good students and really good listeners, and taking the pressure off. You don't have to be the teacher. You don't have to know it all. You're the one to learn. Tell me more about that. I want to learn more about you. I want to learn more about your grandfather. I want to learn more about this situation. I want to learn more about how you're feeling. You are the student, not the teacher. Have compassion. When you're helping someone else, have compassion. Do the best you can. The compassion ultimately is putting yourself in their shoes. Putting yourself in their shoes. There should be a lot more of that in the world right now. And so this is encouraging all of us to say, if there's a moment when you're helping somebody out, definitely take a moment to have compassion on them. Put yourself in their shoes, so you're not placing yourself in a critical position to where you're criticizing everything they're saying and saying you should feel differently about this, or this is, especially if they're saying things that are wrong, right? And that's one of the hard, especially if they're saying things that are wrong, if they don't line up with, if you're a godly person and it doesn't line up with your theology or your view of God, and they're saying things that are wrong, right? Especially in those moments, those are definitely moments to have compassion on somebody and put yourself in their shoes, because you know just as well as they do that you've had moments when you've had the same questions and you haven't figured everything out about life. So have compassion. Put yourselves in their shoes. Understand the uniqueness that's in grief and the uniqueness that is in their situation, and understand that even though maybe you've experienced things before, you've seen things before, you've never experienced or seen this exact thing. But with all of that understood, you can bear witness to their experience. You can say, I don't know everything you're feeling, but I know that pain. I can't, I don't understand everything, but I understand enough to. I have felt. You can bear witness to someone else's pain. I have felt the pain that you're feeling. I've not experienced everything that you're experiencing. Sorry, I'm not experiencing everything that you experience. Trying to cover up the mic and coughing. I'm not experiencing everything that you're experiencing, but I have felt the pain that you're feeling. So this is the companion model. This is how we help others. And I'm of the belief of this is one of the best ways to even help ourselves. Is to take moments to say, man, I am not the only one that's experienced or faced loss. I'm not the only one grieving. I'm not the only one that's ever been through this. Allowing yourself to help somebody else and allowing someone to help you. Now, let's say someone's helping you and they're not listening and embracing the silence. It's not your moment to fix them. You can just have an understanding to say, okay, they don't know all of the answers or how to help me, but at least they're trying. and that's good. They're trying and they're caring. So the companion model: listen, embrace silence, act as a student, not a teacher, have compassion and put yourself in their shoes, understand the uniqueness and grief, and bear witness to their experience. I may not have gone through everything you've gone through, but I know the pain that you're feeling. Okay. Last page. So probably a lot of you had seen this before, but I wanted to show you again, okay? This is the metaphor, the ball in the box metaphor. So grief starts most of the time as something to say, this is too much. I can't manage it. I can't work through it. This right here represents the pain button, right? And so a lot of times in grief, you have the moments where the grief is so much that no matter where this ball bounces, it's pain. And this ball bouncing is different life experiences and the things that you face and memories that come up that are painful. You see something that reminds you it's painful. Somebody says something that reminds you it's painful. You experience something happens again, another loss, and it hits the button again, it's painful, right? You, whatever you going through, just day-to-day life, and things happen because this grief bounce ball is so big that it's always hitting the button and it's painful. So as time goes along, while we've learned that grief is something that never really goes away, we learned in the life and loss oscillation, that graphic, that it's something that can slow down, and that's okay. So you learn, and this bouncy ball maybe doesn't hit the pain button as much. Maybe you're able to, you can go through a day and you say, wow, today was good. I didn't experience the pain of loss like I had been before, okay? And so as time continues or you work through, right, sometimes you go backwards and a loss happens again and the grief's really big again, right? So, but as time goes on, eventually that pain button is hit less and less and less. All of that is good, all of that's healthy. And because the pain button is hit less and less, doesn't mean that you have moved on so much that you've betrayed the person. And it also doesn't mean that everything is completely well and healthy. It doesn't mean there aren't things to still work through. There's not things that you need to completely avoid, all of that. But all this means is that there's going to be moments in life that are not as painful, and that's good, and that's something you can look forward to. That you're not stuck here forever at high alert pain. That no matter where this bounces or what anybody says or what happens, that it's going to be painful. Any questions? Okay, like I said, I know it's a lot of information. I know there were times of times that may have been, go ahead. Oh, yes, the Blob Tree. I put this here for you for later. It's kind of a kid thing, but it's not, right? It's a grown-up thing too, and this can be really helpful for just therapy in general. So they call this the Blob Tree, and if you study it for a little bit, you see people in different places on the tree, and what you're supposed to do with this, you're supposed to take a moment and say, first, where am I at on here? Where do I want to be? Where did I used to be? There's those three questions. Where did I used to be? Where do I want to be? And where am I at? And that just starts to describe places like therapists use this a lot, especially in like a guidance counselor to school or something. They would have this for their kids, and they would be like, all right, where are you at on the tree today? Where were you at yesterday? Where do you want to be? All right. And so some of you look at this and say, okay, I'm this guy right here. I'm falling. It's going to be on my backside. I might die. I'm probably going to hit the other branch. And it looks like this person that was trying to hold me up, just either they dropped me maliciously, like this was, or they were trying to help me and they're devastated too, right? It's however you want to work this out, okay? You say, man, that is me. I feel like I'm falling. Where do you want to be? Like most of us want to be one of these guys that are standing strong, but you can find yourself, look at this guy up here. He's observing everybody else and all of everybody. I hate everybody, no matter what they're going through, right? He can't have compassion on this person's falling. He doesn't like this guy because life's going well. I just hate everybody. Like sometimes we're that person up in the right-hand corner, right? And so we work through this. You can do it for a second right now. We've got just a little bit of time. But anyway, that's always available. I do have, I hadn't updated for a little while, but there's some more things on there that we didn't talk about today. If you're on TikTok, that's on that channel. There's some things on there at GrieveWell. The same thing on Instagram Reels at GrieveWell. The Facebook group that I have set up for GrieveWell is grieve_well, and that's you can just look it up on Facebook. And that's a private group that's there. Some of the books I referenced, not all of them. I would like to get into more of this. Just made a couple quick references though. But The Body Keeps the Score. It's also a very long book. Both of these are really large books. But if it's not intimidating to you, there's some really, really good things that are in that. The Body Keeps Score it's got so much in it. But it basically is telling you what the title is. Like there are things that happen in your life that even as a young child, even before you're able to be in a cognitive place to work through it, your body remembers. Okay. And then a lot of the resources actually come from this site here, which is a not-for-profit site. Anybody can take these classes and courses that are on that site, but it's made for extra education for counselors and pastors and therapists. But anybody can be a part of that. And a lot of times they'll have special prices on there to where you can take a full-blown class for $40, $50 that would normally be like $1,200, things like that. So anyway, so if you ever want to do continuing education, then that's the site there. So any questions or anything before we're done? I promised noon. We're going to be before noon, which is great. Hopefully this has been just a good resource and good help. It doesn't fix everything. This wasn't grief counseling. If you need that or want that, I'm always open to that, to be able to help work through some of this stuff. We'll use some of these models. We'll do that. But ultimately, what you're going through is unique to you, and so we're able just to listen and help work through things and do that. And so hopefully this provided, like I wanted to, tools, resources for you, and the ability to be able to help others through it, and to be able to help, especially if you have kids, grandkids, through things that they're experiencing. So. Anyway, if there's no other questions, we can be done.